Space nerds, what's up? Listen, I got some news for you. It's a little bit late. It's not too much, but I'm going to make sure you get it nonetheless. We're going to talk about what's coming up in 4.7. We just got a roadmap roundup this week that's given us a little insight into a new faction and some new armors. I'll give you some context on that, and we'll talk about where things are a little more long-term, crafting and stuff. First up, though, what's going on with 4.6? We just got a little mid-session update. This is the first time they're trying this sort of update in a month. That's not a major update. This is how they're doing it for the rest of the year. We'll have off months and on months. February being an off month, we get 4.7 next month, which is an on month, and we had 4.6 last month. So we're kind of going halfway in between what used to be the updates in the 3X era and what the updates were last year. We're still getting some stuff dropped in the off months, though. We got our new resource gathering missions, which I talked about a few weeks ago. I tried one of these and it's great. I'm going to keep bashing my head on these because I think this might be the new player mission to try. Not gonna lie, it used to be courier missions, which were great, but the FPS mining missions here, they get you out to an outpost, right? And then from that outpost, you're supposed to go and scan to find a cave, which is kind of a new thing, but gets you into that sort of scanning to find, it's a tutorial, right? You get there, and they tell you go find some FPS minables. You can pick whichever ones you want, find a certain amount of that mineable, bring it back, and then you get paid, and you get the mission complete. You work your way up through Shubin's reputation doing that, and it shows you like a decent amount of the game. I actually think it's really good. So I'm going to keep trying those and see what you get with the larger orders, but it got big pretty quickly. The second mission I got asked for 100 FPS minables. So I think this is like a decent actual progression chain for industrial gameplay finally. Salvage also got an update, so now you're retrieving components, which is pretty cool. All of it encourages you to use more of the sandbox. And while this is a small addition, kinda, I actually think it's pretty big in the long run. Next up, we got the Argo Moth. This one is, I got a gameplay video you can check out about this. I think it's gonna be good for 4-player salvage team because everybody's doing something. Actually, I think it makes better use of the chassis than the mole does. However, be careful. You're not gonna get to use the mole paints on the Moth. We also got a new medical light armor. You can catch that. It's got the little bright heart on it in one of its variants, but there are a couple different variants of it. I'm not crazy about it, and I think it's going to be interesting because we're going to talk about the combat armor here and what that means for combat armor. There's nothing medical from what I've seen about these armors. So again, medical sector of Star Citizen's kind of falling behind, but let's talk about why that is. 4.7 got a couple new cards added. Let's talk about the armors first. So they've added a light armor rework. We know this light armor, bringing it up to the standards of what armor will be, which I think is all based around this panel I'm going to show you in a minute here. And a heavy armor. We don't know this heavy armor. We have not seen this heavy armor. This is different from the heavy armor we saw in CitizenCon. This has already been delivered, I believe, but this will have the same aspects and characteristics of heavy armor. So if you don't know what that means...
Walking tanks. The armor should provide fantastic coverage to limit any weak points they may have, and actually have a greater damage mitigation than what players are currently used to. Due to its mass, the armor will also feature the strongest resistance to force reactions, so that's flinch, stagger, and knockdowns, which brings me on to a full suit feature. If the player is wearing a full set of heavy combat armor, they will not be able to be knocked down by small arms fire.
A tank. Slow though. Slow. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that EVA mobility. This is something a lot of people don't know is coming to Star Citizen. We don't have stats for our player, but we're going to have stats for all our items. And with crafting coming online, those stats are definitely going to start to matter this year. So this is going to be important, especially with these armors starting to be reconfigured, I think, based on this system.
Thank you. We have some major trade-offs. You're going to lose your mobility, stamina will run out much quicker, and your movement speed is severely reduced. The majority of combat armors will also lose built-in EVA thrusters, meaning you're going to have to add additional weight to be wearing an EVA pack.
Or you're probably going to have to use like a tractor beam or 0G push and pull, wherever the heck that is. So that... While it's not, like, these are not big additions, you know, from the missions here to the armor here, they're not big additions, but they all have pretty big context and implications around them. Now, the one that's a little bit of a wild card is the Claw Salamander's faction outfits. We do not know this faction. I have never heard about this. I'm going to have to consult with the Lord Stradamus, Mr. Astropub. It says implementing multiple outfit variants for the Claw Salamanders gang in Nyx. A complete light armor, a cape, and a mask. They're loving their capes lately. These armors actually look pretty cool. I'm sure we could get a better picture of these, huh? Claw Salamander. Somebody must have already ripped it off and put it on the interwebs. There we go. This might actually be from CIG, who knows. These are cool looking armors though. I actually really like the mask itself. They have some Duster vibes to them. It reminds me a lot of their original Nomad. I think it's called the Nomad armor, if I'm not mistaken. This guy. The Desert Nomad by Jeremiah Lee. We haven't seen Jay Lee in a while. I hope he's still doing the character art. He's always been great at it, but it has a lot of the same sort of characteristics, these armors. So I do wonder how much of that inspiration comes from this. Still a beautiful piece, to be honest. These look like they'll be good though, adding some flavor to Nyx, probably some unique parts to them. Seeing some patches here, which is something that I want to go over soon because this is a feature that we might see coming in with inventory changes that we'll get into later. What I'm most interested in here with the new faction is what kind of missions are they going to come with? In fact, we can check out, they very well might be part of the council. So we can check out actually who was in the council and see if they pop up here. Salamander Claws, they call themselves? No, they're not in here. So it is unlisted, but they'll be providing some kind of gameplay related to one of these. And in Nyx, who knows? They could be involved in the big narrative that's going on in the storyline. Now, the progress tracker is the more confusing one here. This is something that I think can throw some people off. Some folks saw that the progress tracker had, the inventory was finished in January or something, and we're wondering what the heck's going on with it. Progress tracker never means that something's getting released. Just means the work's finished. That being said, these finishing dates are terribly convenient. So basically CIG is running probably in like 8-week sprints, I think. Maybe 12-week sprints, probably 8-week sprints considering they're releasing an update every 2 weeks, 2 months. Might be 4-week sprints, but they said that was a little bit too fast for them. So it would make sense then that these are just 8-week time differences. And that's how long they schedule their timeout for. But you could also read this and think to yourself, hey, this is when the next patch comes out. Hey, this is when the patch after that comes out. Hey, this is when the one after that comes out. I'm sure that's the target timeline they want to hit. But I would not take this to mean that these features will show up that month or those days. That being said, this also doesn't mean it has to take that long. Engineering is still on the progress tracker, and that's been released. A lot of this stuff gets worked on after it's been released. Throughout the years, when they do roadmap updates, a lot of times we'll be seeing the thing before that progress tracker timeline is done because they're still working on it. It's in PTU, whatever it might be. So don't take any of these as hard dates, but I would take it as where they're headed, what they want to do. They want to get crafting inventory in first. They want to get the vehicle command module in probably with the Ironclad next. They want to get FPS scanning in, of course, at some point this year. Looks like around that same time. And instancing has to come in with Siege of Orison at some point. The landing services, of course, have to happen by the time we get those joint task force missions. So it all makes sense. It's all about what we're thinking. 2026 is looking like an amazing year still. But this has been your latest roadmap roundup. Hope you enjoy the news. Thanks for dropping by.